The Steelers' defense is broken. There's no softer way to put it, no clever metaphor or polite framing that can really cover up the plain, uncomfortable truth. You can talk about tackling, you can shout it from rooftops or whisper it in meeting rooms, but the message is hollow when it's not backed up on the field. And right now, this group is all talk. Tackle the football, they say. Sure, but how many times can you say the same thing without seeing results before it becomes nothing more than background noise? Pittsburgh travels to Foxborough this Sunday for a 1:02 kickoff against the Patriots. And somehow this game feels like more than just a matchup. It feels like a test of identity, a measuring stick, and it also feels like a dangerous opportunity to keep a brutal trend alive. 10 straight games. That's how long it's been, stretching back to last season, including the embarrassing playoff meltdown against the Ravens, since this defense managed to hold an opponent to under 300 yards of offense. 10. Not once in that stretch did they stop the bleeding. And if you think that's bad, wait until you hear the average, 362 yards per game. That's not an anomaly. That's who they are right now. This isn't about the Jets sneaking in some big plays or the Seahawks catching fire. No, those games weren't flukes. They were symptoms. The Jets nearly hitting 400 yards, Seattle doing the same. It's not a surprise anymore. This is the new normal, and it's been the case for the equivalent of a full NFL season. The worst part? We all remember the point where it started to fall apart. Last season, when the team was sitting at 10-3, everything still looked fine on the surface. The defense? Still top 10, one of the best in the league against the run. And then came that loss in Philadelphia, a crack in the armor. And after that, the wheels didn't just wobble, they fell off. And they haven't been reattached since. It's easy to point fingers at the coaching staff. It's convenient, even. Mike Tomlin, Terrell Austin, the entire defensive brain trust, sure, they deserve criticism. And when you look at how much talent was added to this roster by Omar Khan, Andy Weidel, and the front office, you can't help but wonder why this group isn't dominating, or at least functioning. But here's the hard part to swallow. It's not just the coaching. The players themselves, the names, the reputations, they're not living up to it either. You want to talk about stars? Let's go. T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, Jalen Ramsey. Those are your headline guys, right? Your tone setters, the heart of the defense. But when you look at the numbers, they don't scream elite. They don't even whisper it. TJ, over his last 6 games, and yes, this includes that ugly playoff night in Baltimore, has recorded 0 sacks. None. And just 2 quarterback hits. That's it. This is a guy who used to live in the backfield. A game wrecker. Now, he's just another body in the scrum. You can talk about schemes, about how he's being neutralized, about how offenses are running away from him. All of that could be true, but it doesn't change the fact that we've never seen a stretch like this from Watt in his entire career. Not even close. Cam Hayward, 7 games, no sacks, 5.5 run stops, no forced fumbles, no recoveries, just 5 pass breakups, and 3 of those came in one game against the Bengals. One night. That's not the impact you expect from your veteran leader. That's not what Pro Bowlers are supposed to look like in critical moments. And again, this isn't slander. It's just the truth, as uncomfortable as it may be. Now Ramsey, he's the new guy. He wasn't here last year, so there's no extended trend to judge. And yes, he's made a couple of splash plays. You probably remember the 2 big hits at the end of the East Rutherford game, and the pick last week. Those were bright moments. But let's not pretend that's the whole story. Because when the Seahawks came to Acrisure Stadium, they didn't avoid Ramsey. They targeted him. 11 times. That's not a corner who's feared. That's a corner who got picked on like a rookie. 9 completions. 128 yards. And this is the kicker. They averaged over 14 yards per attempt when throwing in his direction. Not per catch. Per attempt. That's horrifying. So what's the answer? Better coaching? Smarter schemes? Sure, but at some point, the players have to execute. Fundamentals matter, and even the veterans know it. Cam himself said it. The team has to get back to the basics. Setting the edge, coming downhill, tackling, getting off blocks. Until that happens, the pass rush doesn't even matter. Stop the run first, or stop pretending you're top-tier defense. Because here's the thing, This defense was built around these guys. And these guys built their reputations on performances that don't resemble anything we've seen in recent weeks. You can't build a house on hollow reputations. Not in the NFL. The production has to be there. And right now, it just isn't. So yes, you can absolutely blame some of this on coaching. But let's not pretend the athletes are above criticism. TJ needs to be TJ again. Cam needs to be Cam again. And RAMSEY, for all his swagger and highlights, needs to stop getting torched by average receivers in crucial moments. And they're not the only ones. The inside linebackers, all of them, need to step up. Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, Cole Holcomb, if he's finally ready. Hit the gaps with purpose. Stop watching running backs card you up like a high school defense. Keanu Benton, find your form again or get replaced. Darius Slay had elite coverage numbers in Philly, not in Pittsburgh. Juan Thornhill, communication errors in the secondary keep showing up. Fix it. Own it. That crisscross play from last week, if that happens again and results in another touchdown, that's on you. Nobody else. You want to be a leader? Lead. Because this season, everything about it was built on the idea that this defense was going to be special. Not okay. Not above average. Special. Historic. That was the vision. That was the hype. And instead, we're talking about blown coverages, missed tackles, and a front seven that looks completely lost half the time. Instead, we're sitting here wondering what happened to them. Not just as a unit, but as individuals. What happened to the pride? What happened to the fire? What happened to that Steelers defensive identity? The one that meant something? Right now, it just means giving up over 300 yards like clockwork. And if that doesn't change fast, this team won't be going anywhere. Not this season. Not with this defense. And here's where things get even more frustrating. Because it's not like the Steelers are completely lacking in talent. The roster is full of recognizable names, guys with resumes, guys with rings and accolades. There's no shortage of high draft picks, no shortage of physical tools, and no shortage of experience. But what's missing is that edge, that urgency, that violence, that very specific kind of energy that used to define Pittsburgh football. Somewhere along the line, the defense stopped dictating the game and started reacting to it, like they're chasing ghosts instead of hunting quarterbacks. And that's not just on the scheme. That's about pride. That's about effort. That's about a mindset that seems to have faded. Take a close look at how opposing offenses are operating. They're not scared. They're not checking down. They're not double-teaming out of panic. They're not sliding protections because they fear what's coming. No, they're taking their time, sticking to their plan, and hitting the Steelers for big, consistent gains. They're watching film and seeing what we're all seeing, a defense that has stars on paper but no bite on the field. A defense that's letting the game come to them instead of blowing it up in a backfield. That's not who they were built to be, and that's definitely not who they need to be if they want to salvage this season. And that word, salvage, that's where we're at. The expectations at the start were legitimate. You bring in veterans. You draft for depth. You add speed. You add intelligence. On paper, everything made sense. You want a fast, physical, aggressive defense that gets off the field and sets up short field for the offense. And instead, what you have is a group that looks slow, passive, and unsure of itself in critical moments. You've got linebackers getting caught in the wash. You've got defensive backs looking lost in space. You've got linemen getting pushed off the ball on third and short. And maybe worst of all, you got opposing teams expecting to have success. That's the biggest indictment of all. There used to be a fear factor about playing the Steelers' defense. A certain level of hesitance, of discomfort. That's gone now. And when teams don't fear you, they don't hesitate. They take their shots. They test you deep. They test your discipline. They force communication breakdowns because they know you're not locked in. They know you're not confident. They know you're vulnerable. And in today's NFL, where even average quarterbacks can carve up a weak zone or beat a late safety rotation, you don't survive that kind of exposure very long. This group isn't just underperforming. They're falling apart in the moments that define football games. Red zone trips, third downs, 2-minute drills. And that's where great defenses make their name. That's where you impose your will. That's where you rip the ball away, make a stop, and change the outcome. That's where legends are made, not in padded stats on 2nd and 10, but in moments when everything is on the line. And right now, nobody on this defense is rising to that level. It's painful to say, but this group doesn't have a single player right now that you can count on to take over a game. Not consistently. Not in the way this team needs. And that includes the big names. Whether it's TJ, whether it's Cam, whether it's Minka or Ramsey or any of the high-profile additions, there hasn't been that signature performance. That moment where the game tilted because someone on the defense decided enough was enough. It's all been flashes, small bursts, an interception here, a pass breakup there, but nothing sustained, nothing game-changing. That's what separates the good from the great. A great defense doesn't need to be told when it's time to dominate. They decide when it's time. They set the tempo. They take away what you do best. And when the Steelers have done that historically, they've been a nightmare to play against. But that identity feels like a memory right now, like something from another era. And here's the really hard part. The clock is ticking. You don't get endless seasons to figure this out. Guys like Cam Hayward don't have a decade left. TJ Watt is already a veteran. Minka isn't a rookie anymore. These are supposed to be their prime years. These are the seasons that define legacies. You don't want to look back and realize you had all this talent and nothing to show for it. You don't want to be remembered as the group that underachieved when everything was set up for success. That's the kind of thing that sticks with a franchise for years. The challenge now is mental as much as it is physical. It's about leadership, accountability, toughness. It's about whether this defense is going to keep shrinking under pressure or finally decide to push back. That means taking ownership. That means showing up at the facility and choosing to work, to correct, to improve, instead of pointing fingers or hiding behind the scheme. It means every man on that defense looking in the mirror and asking, am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution? Because right now, they're mostly just part of the problem. And no, this isn't just about the past 2 games or even just the past 10. This is a longer arc, a slow decline, a team that was once feared becoming ordinary, a defense that used to win games, now struggling just to keep them competitive. And you can't fix that overnight. You can't scheme your way out of bad habits and poor execution. You have to build it back from the ground up. You have to bring back the urgency, the physicality, the hunger. There's still time. The season's not lost, but that time is running out. And if the defense doesn't change course immediately, not next month, not after the bye, but right now, then the rest of the season is already written. Because this team can't win if this defense isn't elite. That's the blueprint. That's the entire foundation. The offense isn't built to carry this team. It was never supposed to. Everything was supposed to flow through the defense. The pressure, the takeaways, the field position, the attitude. That's the identity. Or at least it was. So it comes down to this. What kind of team are the Steelers going to be this year? Are they going to be the group that keeps pointing to what should be happening? Or are they going to become the kind of defense that grabs games by the throat and finishes what it starts? Because right now, all the talent in the world isn't getting them anywhere. And if that continues, then maybe it's time to stop calling them talented at all. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers around the NFL world are growing louder, and Pittsburgh Steelers fans might want to buckle up. Rumors are swirling that the Steelers could be on the verge of assembling a lineup straight out of a fantasy draft board. One that seems almost too wild to be true. Imagine, if you can, cornerback James Dew, wide receiver Ramsey, and offensive tackle Cam Robinson all suited up in black and gold. The mere thought has already sent shockwaves through social media, with fans speculating about the seismic impact this trio could have on the field. Sources close to the Steelers' front office are reportedly keeping tight-lipped, fueling even more speculation. Some insiders hint that the moves could be part of a bold, aggressive strategy to reshape the team's identity. Dew, known for his explosive playmaking and uncanny ability to read defenses, would instantly elevate the Steelers' passing game. Pair that with Ramsey, a player whose name alone strikes fear in opposing secondaries, and the receiving core suddenly looks like a nightmare matchup for any cornerback. But the rumors don't stop there. Cam Robinson, a formidable presence on the offensive line, could finally give Pittsburgh the kind of protection that lets stars like RAMSEY and DOUBS thrive without constantly worrying about pressure in the pocket. Of course, this is all rumor and conjecture. There's no official word yet, but the timing is intriguing. Trades, signings, and draft maneuvers in the NFL are often chaotic, but a combination like this would go down as one of the most audacious moves in recent memory. Fans are already imagining Monday Night Lights with a passing attack that could redefine the Steelers' offense for years to come. Analysts are scrambling to assess how such a trio could fit together, debating everything from play calling adjustments to locker room chemistry. Whether it's smoke or fire, Pittsburgh is buzzing. The fantasy of DOUBS, RAMSEY, and Robinson together is enough to make any fan's heart race. Stay tuned. This could be the beginning of a Steelers chapter that no one saw coming, a day that fans will be talking about long after the NFL world moves on to the next headline. The craziest day of the year? Maybe. But if these rumors are true, it just might be the most exciting one yet. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.